Bumper bar fitting is going to take a little while, mainly because of the amount of adjustment in it. The main supports, I haven't tightened those up yet, so they move this way and that. The bracket that mounts to that will also enable the bumper bar to move that way. So there's a fair degree of adjustment. So what I've got to do first, I've just put it on loosely. I haven't tightened anything up because I need to make sure before I tighten these bolts up that this bracket is actually in the right position. So what I've done is just put it on. I've loosely positioned it, and what I'm looking at the moment is its fit from left to right, to make sure that the bar is actually centralised on the car. At this stage, let's move some things out of the way. It seems pretty close. I'll probably put a tape measure on that just to make sure it's right. Once I've determined that, I can probably lock up the main support bars, these ones here, and then I'll make some fine adjustment. The measurement I haven't made at this stage is how high this bar is sitting. I need to look at that fairly soon, just to make sure it's in fact level. So I'm about to take some measurements shortly for that. So it's looking alright. I just dropped a spotlight in there. Managed to find that hidden away, just to make sure everything is in the right positions. That is, once again, that's not locked up either, or is it wired in. When I've got the bumper bar positioned correctly, I've got to make some brackets, which I'll put on here for the turn indicators for the front, similar to the way I did it to the rear. And off the centre brackets, or the centre mounting points, these ones here, I managed to find a number plate holder. It mounts onto those two bolts and hangs down in the centre. So I found that it's just being put in a vinegar wrap removing the rust. So I'll probably another 6 days that'll be all ready to go, and by the time that's ready to go I'll be ready to bolt things up. So it's progressing quite nicely at the moment. Hopefully I don't come across any snags. I'm just fabricating the bracket for the indicator light. It's mounted off the bumper bar bracket itself on the inside. The bit that I'm just concerned about is the clearance. There's not a lot of clearance between the rear of the fitting and the guard. It's the way the guard is sort of curving out. I mean, it's missed, but I may have to change it a bit, but I won't know until I've actually bolted this bracket firmly onto the bar. At the moment it's just loosely put in place, so there'll be a little take up where this will pull out a bit, but at the moment the clearance I've got is about 1/4 of an inch at the back there. I mean, it clears, that's not a problem, but if when I tighten it up it goes rearwards, and then I've got a bit of a problem. But anyway, I've still got a bit of movement in terms of how I can reposition things, so I'll just gradually nip things up and see how it goes. I'll do this one before I do any more work on the other bracket, so not hard to make. It's just getting the right dimensions. As I say, I'm just hoping it will clear, be very close. The brackets for the indicators are completed. Once again, clearance is an issue. It does clear, but it's very close, but it's the best place to mount it. So they're made up. I've got to paint the mount. I haven't done that yet. I just want to make sure they're fitting right. So that's right. That one's right. Spotlights. I've got those on. They seem to sit all right. Once again, I haven't adjusted them and I haven't wired them in, so I've got to do that as well. But I'm going to leave all the wiring until I start to sort out some headlights. Now, I've just got a box full of headlights and fittings, so I'll just open that up. I'll just turn this off and reposition the camera. Now, these were the headlights that were taken off the 1949 and stored in a box. Now, they haven't been re-chromed. All the brassware is original. The condition is not too bad. I don't intend to re-chrome unless it's absolutely necessary. I mean, these fittings on the top are a Mazak. That one's in reasonable condition. I don't intend to have it re-chromed. That will go back on the car. But when I looked at the other one originally when I got the car, the one on this headlight has actually started to corrode internally, so I actually had one re-chromed, so that will go on there. I'll try and clean up the rim. If that rim doesn't clean up, I actually have a few other rims lying around, and I'll pick the best of the bunch. So some of these might clean up. I just have to get a bit of metal polish on them and see what happens. The headlights appear to be complete. I've actually got the fitting somewhere. Need to find that. The condition of the reflector, not pristine. It's one of those things I could get done. At this stage I won't. I'll see what I can clean up. Now, the rubbers are obviously gone. I might see if I can replace those with some rubber I've got lying around. Cut some new rubbers. There were seals in here which I assume might have been cork because they've disintegrated. So I'll have to pull this apart and clean the rubbish out of it, and I'll have to see what I can get to do a reseal in there. Now, I might be able to buy some form of either rubber seal or maybe I've got to make up a cork seal. I'll see what I can get. So at this stage I'm going to clean them up and see if I can get two headlights in reasonable condition. So that's the idea. So it's a case of starting on one and pulling it apart, cleaning it up and see how it turns out. Now, I was hoping to get away with just cleaning up the chrome and doing a general clean on the outside of the reflector, but what I've discovered is that the glass is actually dirty on the inside I've cleaned the outside, but it's dirty on the inside. And the only way to get the glass out is to do a lot more work. Now, the chrome ring here is attached to the reflector by this spring clip. Now I did undo this clip, pull that out, and then you can get just the reflector and the glass. This chrome strip comes off. What you end up with is something like this. Now, this is another one that I've been working on. The problem is that you can't get the glass out. Now, around the edge of the glass, you might be able to see here there's a bevel. Now, this outer rim is actually folded down over that bevel, so the glass doesn't come out. And under the glass there is a seal between the glass and the reflector. The only way to get the glass out is to use a pair of pliers, which I've done here, and carefully pull that face of the reflector away from the glass. So you've got to pull it to a vertical position so you can get the glass out. Now, that takes a long time. You have to be careful that you don't break the glass while you're doing it. Now, as I say, I've spent some time folding that back. Now, originally the glass was put in with a seal, was probably put in some form of machine and then turned, and then that with some form of anvil on the top, that would have been turned and that gradually pushed down. Now, as I say, I've pulled that up with a pair of pliers. I can now get that glass out just by carefully pushing. Alright, glass is out. I can now clean the glass, which is something that I wanted to do. Certainly make the headlight much more functional. I can now get to the inside. I can remove this. It's just held in by screws. That's not a problem. I can carefully clean around the edge. Now, I'm not sure what they've used as a reflective surface. Some of these were done in silver. I don't know about Daimler, but certainly some of the early reflectors were done with a silver coat. Now, I don't want to have that resilvered. Whether I can carefully clean that in detergent, I'll have to see. But I'm going to be very careful I don't damage the reflective surface. The least I'll do is to do it around the edges where it's got a bit of water that's come in there and brought dirt with it. I need to clean that off. So I'll see how much I can clean of that. I won't undo the other reflector yet. This one was a little bit better condition, although it, as I say, it does have a film of dirt on the inside of the glass, which I can't clean unless I undo it. I'd rather not undo it, but if worse comes to worse, I will. But I'll see how much I can clean this up before I do that. Now, this is something that the faint-hearted wouldn't want to attempt, because you run the risk of breaking the glass. Now I didn't break this one, that's good. Whether I can repeat that remains to be seen. I still do have another at least 2, maybe 3 headlight glasses I can use if I do break it, but the aim won't be to break it. So, as I say, I'll clean the glass up. I'll see how much of this reflector I can clean up, and then if I can clean it up, I'll put it all back together, see if I can fold this down without doing damage. Now, to do that, there's a little bit of a rim on the back there. I may just be able to carefully fold that down by angling the pliers. So it's not something that you would rush at, because once again, when you're putting it back together, you could also damage it, and I certainly don't want to do that. Anyway, clean it up first. The other thing I can now access is a seal in here, in around that groove. I may use some form of 3M sealant or something in there. I'll just see what I've got available. Anyway, it's time to do some cleaning. Alright, I managed to clean the glass up. Couldn't remove most of the blemishes from the reflector around the edges, but I cleaned it as best I could. Used a little bit of metal polish, but even that wasn't enough to remove it, and because the reflective surface is probably very, very thin, the way they're laid on, I'm not going to do it anymore. So there'd be enough reflection in there for lights. I mean, it's not a car that I drive at night anyway, but they're presentable. I'll put new sealant around the edges, and I folded the metal back over and then put this rim back on, so it's fine. The only problem is, while it's been sitting here, there's a little cricket walking around on the glass. You may not be able to see it. I'm hoping that he'll find his way out. Otherwise I'll have to wait until he dies and then he'll shake out. But it's done, so I'm happy with that. Now I've got to go ahead and work out how to actually fit them into the guards and do the wiring. So that's the next job, but certainly this light is okay. It's a lot of work, and really unless you've got bits of broken sealant hanging around the edges, it's probably not worth pulling it apart. Just leave it as it is. The other one I've got, the old sealant is just hanging on, so I'll probably leave that one, and the reflector is about the same condition as this one, so the extra effort is just not going to pay dividends in the end.